Hello and welcome to my channel, I Win to Lose Gaming. Originally, I wanted to make a tutorial on how to nuke with Eula, but while doing so, there was something else I wanted to talk about, and that is about Eula's insane power gap with and without Constellations. If you're not aware, Eula's kit is designed around making her burst explode. If you've watched my older videos on Constellations, you'll know my general opinion on this. I personally think a character should only get around 50% stronger with their Constellations. Also, I think whaling for weapons and Constellations together should only ultimately lead to about double the power of a free-to-play player's power, and that whaling will help you achieve that power ceiling much more quickly through resin refreshes. Now, I know that this 50% stronger or whatever is a completely arbitrary metric, but whales are gonna whale, even for constellations like Klee's Constellation 6, Venti's Constellation 6, or Child's Constellation 6, which are all pretty decent in my opinion. So this brings me to Eula. Let's take a look at how much damage a maximally invested free-to-play Eula can do with her nuke. I've normalized my Bennett's damage buff to be equivalent to a free-to-play player's Bennett, which would be at level 80 out of 90 with the Festering Desire, Constellation 1, and Talent level 9. This free-to-play Bennett setup would add 793 attack. And also by using this level 70 Lion's Roar, my Bennett now adds 804 attack, which is very close to the aforementioned 793 attack. I've also included Zhongli as the fourth party member since he is probably the most reasonable thing that also amplifies damage by quite a bit that a free-to-play player can have, instead of, for example, a Constellation 2 Klee or a setup with Xinyan that you'll see after this. Eula has the prototype Archaic with a crowned level 10 burst. Her artifacts are the same throughout all the burst showcases, so let's go ahead and see how much her burst damage does with this setup. Eula did 529,085 damage with this peak free-to-play setup. This seems pretty respectable, no cap. But now let's see how she does with some whale weapons. She's still at Constellation 0, but now she's using the Song of Broken Pines at Refinement 5, and also will have Xinyan as a support. And Xinyan will be rocking a Refinement 5 Wolf's Gravestone. Bennett will now be using the level 90 Aquila Favonia. Eula's damage jumped to 1,037,000 damage, now with multiple weapons that boost the entire party's damage, like the Wolf's Gravestone and the Millennial series. Whales are starting to pull further and further ahead from just their weapon buffs alone, applying to the entire party. With literally just a few weapons, my Eula is hitting nearly twice as hard as a free-to-play's Eula. But now for the real problem of this video, Eula's Constellation 6. Let's see how much she does with the previous combo, but now at Constellation 6. $2.4 million damage, and with some better stack RNG, this likely can go up to 3 million. This is over twice the previous setup just from her Constellations alone. If we go back and look at our free-to-play setup, while respectable, it did a meager 529,085 damage. Because of the compounding effects of multiple weapons that buff the entire party's damage, simply through weapons alone, one can double their damage over a free-to-play player. And then by adding Eula's Constellation 6, now Eula is doing 430 and 63% of a free-to-play player's damage. Because all these whale buffs are essentially multiplicative, a Constellation 6 Eula's burst is over 4.5 times as powerful as a free-to-play player's. To me, I am concerned about the gap being this big. Take Child as an example. His nuke build has a comparatively small damage difference in comparison to Eula. His Constellations only increase his burst's damage by 18%. His Constellation 6 is also simply a nice quality of life, but is completely fine not to have. Take Ganyu for example. Her Constellation 6 is extremely good, and is also one of the best in the entire game. But, realistically speaking, it does a little over double her DPS, and just for a couple of seconds. Now when it comes to Eula, her Constellation 6 doesn't just allow her burst to do over 4.5 times that of a free-to-play player's Eula. It also allows her to play like Burst Child, but without elemental reactions. Just take a look at a few of these clips. Those clips were a sneak preview to my DPS showdown, by the way, against Hu Tao and Ganyu. But on top of all that, if Eula ever needs more damage, she can simply add stack, thus putting her burst's effective damage range somewhere between 100,000 to 2 million damage, making her an extremely flexible and powerful character. On top of all of this, because Eula's damage at Constellation 6 is so insane, you have tons of flexibility to build her with energy recharge or whatever weapon you want. Right now, since Constellation 6 Eula has no need to ever do more than 600,000 damage at a time, she has the ultimate flexibility of building her however you want, at least at whale levels of investment. Not even a character like Ganyu has this luxury, and since Ganyu's damage ceiling is nowhere near Eula's, you will always want to push Ganyu's damage as high as possible. Now, one can argue that Eula's Constellation 6 only increases her entire rotation's damage by roughly double the amount, but let me tell you, nothing else in Eula's kit can replace the massive AoE and flexibility of her burst. You're not going to be hitting an entire group of enemies with Eula's auto attacks. It's just not going to happen. But you will easily be hitting them all with her burst. So yeah, in summary, I think the power gap between a free-to-play player's Eula and a whale's Eula is a bit too much in this scenario. I've always thought that Constellations should at best make a character 50% stronger or so. But once you factor in whale weapons and Eula's Constellations, the damage difference is over 4.6 times that of a free-to-play Eula. On top of that, Constellation 6 Eula allows her to be played as a burst child without elemental reactions. I dare say, I think Eula has the best Constellation 6 in the entire game. On the contrary, one reason why my worries are mitigated is due to miHoYo's track record of balancing around the free-to-play player's experience. I sincerely hope they continue to do this despite being a whale myself, and that they continue to make Genshin Impact the smashing success that it has been thus far. What do you guys think about the tremendous power jump from a free-to-play player's Eula to whale Eula? Do you think this power gap is healthy for the game? Do you think Eula's giant burst numbers are just a novelty item for whales to showcase? Thanks for watching. As always, I appreciate every single one of you. This is I Win to Lose, signing out.
Judgment!